I'll start on like a slightly somber note for today and just make like a public address announcement here. I donate blood regularly, and
you were doing that today.
I was doing that today. I don't like it. I don't like needles, but I do it because I'm a universal donor. So it's like an obligation that I feel that I should have. Part of the inspiration was for a college roommate of mine who was an avid donor. He had donated like a gallon or two of blood by the time he was in college. Like he had started as soon as he could and was consistent with it throughout. He died my sophomore year, literally the first weekend we were on campus. We had a night in our dorm room. We were consuming definitely not alcoholic beverages. I promise you, we were not underage drinking. No questions. Don't look us up in law where you can't look into it anymore because it's past its date.
Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations. I'm good with words tonight. We were having a good night, like just a bunch of our friends and whatnot, and he went on a trip to Toronto. Was killed in a bus accident, and we, along with his family and his friends from Kansas, started this blood drive at Temple University and at K-State, and it has run pretty much every year since. This was back in 2010 when this happened, so it's almost 15 years that it's run. Hundreds of people have donated blood. He was a great kid, awesome kid. His name was Kevin, and over the weekend I learned that his dad died, and we were really close with his parents, even though we were all from Philadelphia-ish region and they were from Kansas, because we were the group that showed up in a Greyhound bus to his funeral because Temple paid for us to go to his funeral, which we kind of found a little bit of humor in that. Here's this processional of cars and whatnot, and then there's this big bus with a bunch of kids from Philadelphia. But his dad died over the weekend, and it just was like a tough moment because he had health issues for a while, but he and his wife are great human beings. Their son was great. They have an older son as well, who has a young family right now. But I guess a little bit poetic that this happened over the weekend, and then I'm donating blood today. So my PSA for everyone is just donate if you can, or find some other way to contribute for some sort of health related things. Be an organ donor if you can. It's just good to do, and it's my one little way of trying to remember Kevin and try to do a little bit of something for people, because you never know where that actually goes to and what it does. So that's how I will start today's show. Let's have some fun. Yeah,
that's great that you do that. I was going to choke on that for a second.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Just turning red over there.
I'm okay. I'm fine. A little snack. A little healthy snack.
Welcome to Eye on Sports, where we delve into the biggest Butler County sports topics. I'm your host, Butler Eagle Sports writer Derek Pida. Joining me are fellow sports writer Brendan Howell and Eagle Sports editor Jake Murda Adams.
You donated plasma a bunch for that reason, and so I'm sorry that you lost someone that...
Like, Kevin's death was really tragic, and it caused a lot of emotional trauma for me and my friends group. We had a really tight friends group freshman year of college. Like, we were all in one dorm hallway, and our RA like forced us to hang out with each other for the first week, and it was like one of the best things that ever happened to us, because we're all still friends. A few of us have gotten married, and we've been in each other. Most of us have been in each other's weddings, and all this stuff in between. When I go back into Philly, I try to see them at least once, if I have some time. But the great thing that came out of Kevin's death was we met his family and stayed in touch with his family. Some of us more than others. I admittedly was not the most active in talking with them, but if I did go back for the blood drive in Temple, I tried to whenever I could. It hasn't been for the last few years since I lived out of state, or now on the opposite end of the state, but they were awesome people, still are awesome people, and we met a lot of his high school friends. And I remember the one night when we were out for his funeral, we went out, we got there in time for the service, whatever that first night is, and we got off the bus, and the line was wrapped around the building for a kid that's 19 years old. He's 19 years old. Like, there's no way this many people should know him, but that's like who he was. And they stopped the line. They took all 20 of us, and they're like, "You guys go in now, because you just drove 20 hours to get here." And then later that night, we went to this lake that was somewhere near Manhattan High School, where he went to school, and he was on the rowing team. And he and his friends like took us into the row house, and they took us out into the pier, and it was like this crystal clear night where like there's a bajillion stars, and like you don't see that in Pennsylvania, especially like most of the places I've been where there's a little bit of light pollution.
Yeah.
It was crystal clear. You could just see thousands and thousands of stars, and we were just like all lying on the pier. There's like 20 of us from Temple, 20 of his friends from Kansas, all just like chilling, hanging out and whatnot. And then we had the funeral the next day, and we stayed in touch with his family. I still follow a lot of his friends on like Instagram or whatever, because even though we don't talk much, it's just they were part of our lives in a weird way. But it's like one of the nice things that I take from that is like we know his parents. We never would have known him the way that we do because of that.
I thought you were going to say something when you guys were laying on the dock that like something happened, like a bear was
it's just a very like
in the woods and came roaring out and you all jumped in the lake, or something shot across the sky.
No, this was no Final Destination or anything like that.
Sorry.
It was just a very like I mean I'll be honest here, like I'm not religious, so like there's no spirituality to any of the stuff that comes from it, but like being out there was just like it was a very like lucky, serene, surreal moment that was just like, yeah, this sometimes the stars metaphorically and literally align. So like that sticks in my head, and I know me and my friends have talked about it periodically, or those first couple of years we would like kind of look back at that a little bit. But yeah, donated blood again today and lost another friend of ours over the weekend who was avid into this stuff. But please donate if you can. It's for
absolutely.
a good cause.
Are you guys organ donors? Yeah,
yes.
You are. Brendan, you're not?
Nope.
Okay, just curious.
I mean, when I'm 6 feet under, what's my liver going to be doing? That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's crazy you said that. One of my good friends from college who I was in the theater department with, him and his wife met in college. They were, I want to say they were juniors when I was a freshman or seniors, but they're just so talented. And he just had a liver transplant. He had to go.
Wow.
He had to go all the way to, I want to say he's like in Wisconsin or something at a hospital there, but he just had to have that. And I lost. I can't talk about that. Can't talk about it.
Back when Sports Illustrated was Sports Illustrated, I remember reading a story about a mascot. I forget of what team. I want to say somewhere in North Carolina, but I don't think it was UNC or Duke. I could be wrong. Was killed in a bus accident during a tournament. Or not a bus accident, car accident. He was hit like walking across the street. And his family was whatever religious belief that doesn't allow for organ donation, but he went against that when he was old enough to get his license and put organ donation on his card, and his parents didn't know about it until he's in a coma and they're telling them he's brain dead and there's nothing they can do, and like the best thing he can do is he is a 20-something-year-old, 19-year-old, whatever kid. His organs are as great a shape as you can. Like this would be a good thing. And he ended up saving like 6 lives, I think. And then several years later, the family was able to like connect with almost all of those patients. And now it was a really nice story about like meeting these people that their son saved. And like for them, it was a spiritual thing. I just talked about how it's not for me, but for them it was. And like, it was a really cool story just about like that impact that it has.
Yeah.
Not to shame anyone who doesn't, but it was just like,
I think
it's a good story.
I don't know. I think it's for every person to decide. Yeah. And my friend Marty, I danced with his wife. We were in a show together and he had a heart transplant. They actually came out to UCLA when I was living in LA. He was on an LVAD and it started to fail 2 years in. They had 3 girls, and so all these people were donating food and stuff for them to stay somewhere, and he had to give a total heart transplant. And he's a real goofball. Derek, you remind me a lot of him, actually, of Marty. He's like a really great family man, but he's like hilarious and always making people laugh. But he would like dance around and stuff.
I try to make him laugh since I came in today, and everything I say seems to offend him. I don't know.
Talk to us, Brendan. Tell us what's going on right now. So you're getting ready to talk to us. Come on.
I'm good. I've been in a group chat since 2019, like a text chat with all of them, and I've had enough of like the way they talk to me and treat me. So I left it yesterday. Just like Bailey's been telling me for months, like if they're not cool to you, you should just leave it. And I've been like, no, like they're my friends, blah blah blah. And I woke up the other morning to 11 mentions. Like they talked about me 11 times before I woke up. I was like, I've had enough of this. Like,
so I'm sorry, man.
That's cool.
Release
That
it.
sucks.
Yeah.
Social media is not oxygen. We can survive without it. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Take a deep
Absolutely.
breath.
It's crazy to think back to like, well, even when we were first in college, like we didn't have cell phones. I had a phone that I turned on when I would drive home. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I would get back to my room and we'd check the answering machine. We had an answering machine. In our
I didn't have a cell phone
like,
until I was in college. Until my sophomore year of college, I didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
Like a smartphone. I had like one of those
brick phones.
Yeah, like
that's
you could
what I
like
called them.
you could slide it out and text.
Yeah,
that's how.
Yeah, see, we didn't have that at all. There was no texting. It was like a phone that was $20 a month, and you called. It's like roaming. It didn't matter where you were; it was roaming.
But it was crazy because like I'd go up and like I'd ask a girl for her phone number and they'd see my phone. They'd be like, "What the?"
They'd make fun of your phone.
Right off the bat, you're at a disadvantage. Or like you got to be weird if you don't have an iPhone. Like.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm at the point like Jake has an Android. I'm like, haha, you have an Android.
Yeah.
I'm not the green text.
It was funny.
Proudly, I'm not the green text.
Well, we'll talk about Brendan's love life on a later episode, but we're gonna dive into
Valentine's Day.
We're gonna dive into the second season of high school sports, and that of course means the playoffs. WPIAL brackets in baseball, softball, lacrosse, and volleyball were released this past week, and the playoffs actually begin this week. Brendan, what sticks out for you? What are you looking for in any of those four sports individuals, teams? What do you have for us?
So I'm not sure if you guys thought about this, like your fourth year whenever you're working here, your fourth year whenever you're working at your first job. But the class that's graduating this year is the class that I started covering.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. Lexi Hames, I remember my first year here, going out to State College, covering her in the state going to Chambersburg, covering her in the state semifinal, then going out to State College like a few days later to cover the state final that they lost in. And they're still searching for their state championship that Seneca Valley's never won. So my thing here is, can Lexi Hames and Seneca Valley clear the first hurdle on the way to accomplishing their overarching goal, which is that state championship? In Class 6A in the WPIAL, only one softball team makes it out into the state tournament, and they're hoping to be that team. I talked to Lexi and her mom a few weeks ago about that for a feature. But the thing is, although Lexi is always the first name that comes up when you think of Seneca Valley softball here, the team isn't just her. Liv Harem is hitting .368 with 21 hits, 25 RBIs, 3 home runs. Abby Kokowski is .333 average, 21 hits also, 22 RBIs, 4 home runs. And Nev Miller has a .304 average, 18 hits, 13 RBIs, and 2 home runs. So we know that Lexi hits leadoff, and that puts teams in a precarious position where they have to either choose to intentionally walk her or let her bat, which she can hit the ball over the fence as easy as anyone. But those girls behind her also know how to hit the ball pretty well too. So it's a pretty dangerous lineup there, and we'll see in these next 2 games because they're already in the semifinals. If I'm thinking right there, whether they can enter the state tournament and try to get their goal there.
I covered Seneca Valley last year. Last year they won the WPIAL championship, went to the state playoffs, beat McDowell up in Erie the first game. They won that game handily. Can't remember the final score, but it was not close. And that win sent them out to Chambersburg to face North Penn in a quarterfinal. And that's where Seneca Valley's season, the 2024 season, came to an end. And you mentioned the stats that the girls have put up to this point. Lexi Hames' teammates, including Liv Harem and the other girls. It's great to have stats at this point and be able to look at it and say, this is what these girls have done this year. But the key for them is, can they do it from this point on as the season goes on? That state quarterfinal that Seneca Valley lost last year to North Penn, Seneca Valley did not tally a hit in that game until the 7th inning. Mm-hmm. Abby Kokowski had a double in the 7th inning. They ended up losing the game 4-0. And admittedly, that was not Lexi's best game pitching. I think she had 12 strikeouts and 7 walks. So she had a bit of a control problem that day. But can they do it when the chips are down, so to speak, in really close games, whether it be in the WPIAL playoffs here or if they do make state in the state playoffs when they're involved in a tight game? Can they do it then? It remains to be seen. Last year, their season ended because they could not do it.
I think you and I have probably covered enough spring championships with baseball and softball because they both roughly will operate similarly where having the pitching is half the battle. So if you have in baseball, if you have 2 to 3 really good pitchers that can carry allow 1 or 2 runs a game, you're in good shape. Softball, you need Alexi Hames basically. That's half the battle right there. If you don't have the pitching, you're likely not going to do well. But if you can have all the hitting in the world during the regular season, but the playoffs is such a different environment because again, if you have pitching, most of the teams you're going to face along the rest of the way also have pitching. So as good as Lexi Hames is going to be, even if she allows 1 run, they have to score 2. Mm-hmm. Even if they have to score 1 at minimum to win a game 1-0. And I've seen so many teams over the years, baseball or softball, where they'll have a bunch of kids hitting 300, 400 during the regular season, but once they start facing a series of quality pitchers in a row, if they all go cold at the same time, that spells disaster.
Yeah, the game against North Penn last year, since you're talking about opposing pitching, North Penn's Bella Nunn, she's the one that shut down Seneca Valley's offense last year, gave up the 1 hit, and it didn't come till the 7th inning, and North Penn wins the game 4-0. I do want to you mentioned about, a lot of times teams just decide not to pitch to Lexi Hames. Seneca Valley has to take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. When you intentionally walk somebody, you can say it's taking her bat out of the lineup, but at the same time, you're putting a girl on base, and the girls that are batting behind her, they have to find a way to get on themselves and bring that runner around. Teams want to intentionally walk her, fine, we're going to make you pay for it. That's the attitude they have to have, and I know that's got to be Marlise Hames as the head coach's message to her team. But as you said, wanting to doing it in the regular season is one thing. In the playoffs, it can become a completely different animal because you're facing better competition.
Yeah. You don't see too many 8 to 6 games, especially later in the postseason, and probably in the WPIAL championship. It's not like we're going to see a huge scoring game because Lexi Hames is going to do her job. She's probably not going to allow too many runs, and I would not be surprised if Hempfield or whoever they face in the championship is going to be just as good defensively as well. Seneca Valley opens on Monday. We don't know the site or the time yet. Monday the 19th. Against Mount Lebanon in the first round, and I think it's that semifinals and finals. So they only have 3 games, get a first round bye in 6A because it's not as deep of a field as we have in 5A through 1A. I'll jump in with the one thing I'm curious to see, and Brendan, you're going to be at this game on Tuesday, I believe, is Freeport baseball. I'd be curious to see what they say to this, especially if they win. But that section that they were in, the top 5 teams all finished 8-4 in the section, so they were all in the playoffs as a 5-way tie, which is pretty rare. And Freeport gets the lowest end of that stick, a very big stick this time, but the lowest end nonetheless is a number 13 seed. Burrell's number 8, Mount Pleasant's number 12, Ligonier Valley is number 10, and Deer Lakes is number 6. What do you guys have any thoughts on this? I mean, What do we think about? Is this seeding fair or not? Is this something that they can overcome? Because they'll face a pretty tough number 4 Waynesburg Central on Tuesday, I believe. What do we think kind of that outcome?
I was looking at this earlier. I got on the checking out the standings for all the WPIAL in Class 3A. There's 4 classes in 3A in the WPIAL, and you figure. I mean, I obviously wasn't part of the seeding here, but if you look at the top 2 teams in the other 3 sections, that's 6 teams right there, mm-hmm. and there's a 5-way tie for the title here in Freeport's section. So if you take the top 2 teams in the other 3 sections, that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, that you knew they weren't going to simply take Freeport's section, the 5 teams that tied for the title, and just seed them right in a row.
Sure.
They weren't going to do that. I do find it interesting, and of course, you could get into a discussion about who each team's non-section games were and how they did in those games. Out of the 5 teams, even though Freeport got seeded the lowest at number 13, they actually had the best record overall amongst those 5 teams at 13-6. That's a pretty good record, mm-hmm. but I don't know if this played any part in it, but Ligonier Valley won 9 of their last 10, including their last 7 straight section games. Freeport won 9 of their last 10, but their last 4 section games were against the bottom feeders in that section. Southmoreland and Yawk, 2 teams that combined for 2 section wins this year. I'm not saying that's Freeport's fault. They didn't come up with their own schedule. But a lot of times you look to see how a team's been playing recently. And even though Freeport's won 9 of their last 10, their last 4 section wins were against those the 2 bottom teams in the section. I don't know if that came into play. Certainly not Freeport's fault. They don't come up with the schedule. But the way I look at it is, if I'm Ed Carr, if I'm Freeport's head coach, look, if we believe we're that good and we can make a run to the WPIAL title, we're going to have to run into tough teams anyway. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're going to run into this Waynesburg team who is a section champion of their own. This gives Freeport a chance right off the bat to, if they believe their 13 seed was kind of unjust, go out and prove it. You beat a section champion, and I think Waynesburg had, 1 section loss.
I'm not sure.
If 1 section loss, or if they may have been undefeated, but they were not. They didn't lose many section games. That's Freeport's opponent this week. You go out and beat them, maybe people start thinking differently. But you have to beat the good teams eventually if you want to make a run. Might as well start off with. I wouldn't have my team focused on the seeding. If they want to use it as motivation, that's fine. But you still have to go out and play the game. And Waynesburg's obviously going to be a formidable opponent for him this week.
11-1. You were right.
11-1 So
what else do we got? You want to talk track? I know you're going to the WPIAL championships this week.
He's going to WPIAL championships.
Brendan's going to WPIAL championships. We also got District 9 and District 10.
Yeah,
it's a busy week.
Brendan's got the District 7, the WPIAL championship meet on Wednesday. I got D9 on Friday. I got D10 on Saturday. But one thing I wanted to point out is this past week, Aubrey Rock went 19 feet 2.25 inches in the long jump. That is not only a school record for Butler, it is an all-time Butler County girls record. And I pulled these stats up earlier today. I wanted to compare what she just did, 19 2 1/4, with what she's done in the past. Her best jump before that was last year as a junior, 18 1/4 of an inch. So she went 14 inches better than her previous best. 14 inches.
It's so absurd.
That's crazy. I'd be excited if I were you. Look for Aubrey Rock to see how she can follow this up, because this jump came in the last chance meet, which is a meet where kids can either qualify for the WPIAL meet if they haven't done it already, or better their seed. So it's one thing to do it there, but man, we talked there early in the show, a few shows back, about sometimes the timing and technique just eludes kids in meets. That's why, Jake, you've covered enough track. In the long jump, the difference between setting a school record, or in this case, setting an all-time county record, and faulting can be less than an inch. It can be literally that much. And her timing and technique were right on that day. Perfect. 14 inches better than her previous best.
And she's not a bad pole vaulter either.
Nope. she's on our honor rolls in the pole vault too, yeah. And in the 100, I believe.
I'm kind of astounded. Like, you do not often see, track is so much about incremental improvements. You do not often see a giant leap like that. Literally a giant leap of improvement. Now, can she do it again? If she does that again, she's winning WPIALs this week.
Just throw this out there. The previous best, the all-time Butler County record, or I should say Butler County area record, that Rock broke was actually an AC Valley girl just last year, Hannah Eithen, 18:10.5. So Aubrey Rock bettered that all-time record by almost 4 inches.
Brendan, you've been doing a little bit of homework. I saw you in the office earlier today getting ready for WPIALs. Is there anything that has caught you? Haven't covered a lot this year. Derek and I have handled the majority of it, but anything that you're looking forward to?
We talked, Derek and I, about Michael Braun and how he won 2 years ago in, was it the 1,600 or 3,200?
3,200.
And he didn't last year, so if he does this year, it'll be kind of like
getting back on top.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have my story written for me right there. So.
Last year he competed, and he made the state meet as well. But he was not, as you know, you've talked to him. Yeah. He was not healthy last year.
He hasn't been healthy most of this season. Well, all of the 24-25
I think he was having some back problems.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's able to have a performance and get it back on top. One as a sophomore last year, good enough to make states, but we'll see what this week has in store for him. He's looking for big things. This is it for him. He's headed to Penn State. This is his chance to close his high school career in style. 19, 2 and a fourth.
Okay.
Need to do laps for that.
19, 2 and a fourth.
No,
Bree.
someone's going to have to drop
Bree.
and give me like 20
Bree.
or something for that.
Yeah,
You had coffee before you came down here, didn't you? You're more energetic tonight than you are usually.
Well, considering he stays up until
It's like you
3
two
a.m.
flipped or something.
He's just hitting his
I think I
stride.
finally kicked my Dunkin' habit. I haven't had Dunkin' in like a week, so I'm
Wow.
avoiding going there because as soon as I go there, it'll be like relapsing. So
Bravo. More hand claps.
It's never a dull moment.
it's been a sleepy
with
week.
you, Brendan.
So Derek, let me pull up in my notes here to make sure I asked this
buttons.
correctly.
Derek.
Which NFL player has the most rushing touchdowns of at least 80 yards? Career.
Okay.
Not in just a season.
All
That'd
right.
be
I get a few minutes
ridiculous.
to think about
This
that.
is
So
for this is for a chance to get to 20 wins.
I know, yeah. If I get to 20, I should just retire.
I'm going to hold him off. Trust me. He gets to 20 losses before he gets to 20 wins.
Dallas Goedert stiff arm just to the face for 3 losses.
I think Vance McDonald made that stiff arm famous first. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. He ended a guy's career
Yeah, the kid, or that guy like never played again.
against the Buccaneers.
Conti, what's his name? Chris Conti.
I can't remember his name.
Chris Conti. Is that the...
I was at the I was covering a soccer game that night down at Seneca Valley because it was a Monday night game, and somebody had it up on their phone and they said Vance McDonald just freaking trucked the guy. I didn't see it until I got home, but Steelers won that night, by the way.
So, welcome to Beyond Butler, our weekly segment where we talk about something outside of Butler County sports, whether that be professionally or collegially. I'm sure you guys missed me with this last week. So I'm coming back this week with a topic that everybody loves to talk about, which is Bill Belichick's dating life.
Can we go back to last week when Brendan wasn't here for this? I liked not talking about this.
Belichick's tenure at North Carolina is often a pretty interesting start. He's dating a former cheerleader / bikini model or whatever she was.
I wasn't invited to that wedding, by the way.
She's 49 years younger than he is, which is...
But it's love, Brendan. It's love.
Yeah, she's been involved in the programs day to day. Is this going to crash and burn? There was a report today. Pablo Torre said that there's a real chance Belichick doesn't even coach a game at North Carolina because of the craziness that comes with...
Now, when it
his
says
much
she's
younger
involved
girlfriend.
in the day-to-day, what does that mean? I mean, what's she doing? Is she, like, recruiting? Is she...
That'd be funny.
There's been a lot of talk of, like, her just, like, interrupting things and her wedging her way into things just to be, like, the center of attention, which is...
There's supposedly one of the commercials that Belichick shot, which like since when does Belichick shoot commercials? Like she forced her way into one of the scenes in some shot. I don't know which one this is. And I also did you see any bits from the CBS interview that he did a week or so ago?
No.
They left a clip in which she cuts off a question or interrupts Bill answering a question about how they met, just an innocuous like how did you two meet question. And she's like, he's not answering that question. And apparently, according to CBS, like editors or producers or someone, like this was not the first time during that interview. Now, like I'm not going to make that big of a deal out of this because there are PR managers at interviews, whether for athletes or celebrities or whatnot, that sometimes that is their role to just kind of step in and be like, nope, not doing this. Whether fair or not, we can get into the journalistic side of that stuff. But this is not something like new. It's not like she created this out of nowhere. So I don't think that's that big a deal, but the fact that CBS left it in and was like, look, this is one of the few times that she did, a handful of times that she did this. It's funny. My parents are in town tonight. They're going to the Indiana National Dunes to continue their national parks touring that they do a couple times a year. So they're staying tonight, and we had dinner together, and this got brought up, and I was just like, if he wants to date her, he can date her. If they decide to break up or get married or whatever down the line, so be it. It's
thinking
not,
of 49 years, though. Derek's not 49 years old yet.
So
I would have to wait 24 years. Say I date a woman 49 years younger than me. I would have to wait another 24 years before she.
We know why she's with the guy. The guy has the personality of a cardboard box.
I was gonna say a tomato can.
Right there. I mean, if Bill Belichick was a retired house painter, would she be dating him right now? No. Right there. That's
He's
what
not
it's all
Kevin
about.
Costner.
I'm gonna.
He's no Brendan Howe.
I'm
I'll
gonna
tell you
hold
that.
off.
I basically look at it as like, okay, if they're both consenting to this relationship for whatever reasons it may be, whatever. I don't really care too much about celebrity relationships, who's dating who broke up with who. Like, it doesn't bug me all that much. Like, I'll see it in the news and I'll scroll beyond it. You know, this is what it is.
Did you guys ever get? I don't watch much like current sports news. You know, I'd rather wallow in the 80s on YouTube. But what happened with I heard at one point he was going to be the coach of the Falcons. That never happened. I mean, what happened with his next job in the NFL that never happened? I mean, did he pull the plug on it?
That was part of what was so interesting about him going to North Carolina. Like, why would you end up there whenever you're, I think it was 17, 18 wins away from Schuler's record?
Right. But was there a team out there willing to take him on as a coach, an NFL team? Because if there wasn't, knowing him, he might just be doing this to spite people. Oh, the NFL doesn't want me here. I'll take a college job just to tick people off.
From what I remember reading, this may not be totally accurate, is he still wants to be GM as well, and no franchise wants a GM coach anymore. Like, the only other one that existed until recently was Andy Reid. He was GM effectively of the Eagles for the last half of his tenure there, and I think he was effectively GM with the Chiefs early on, but he's no longer in that role. And like, name another franchise that has a GM and coach in the same human body. And if he still wants to do it, most franchises are just saying no to it, especially because he did not have a drafting and free agency record that was anything stellar over the last 5 years.
I realize the point you're making. Absolutely. Franchisers are going toward GM, head coach separate. But you remember the quote that Bill Parcells had about that. He said they want you to cook the meal, but they don't want you to shop for the ingredients.
Yeah.
That's what
I think that's definitely part of it. And I think if he feels spurned by that, then him going to college to be, chuck the finger at the NFL and say, look, I can do this here too, and you guys are going to miss me. I'm good with it, whatever.
At the same time, though, I do not feel bad for anything negative that comes out of this for UNC, because they're the ones that hired the guy. Yep. I mean, he's 72 years old.
I saw the video of, I guess they're at a UNC basketball game, and they both like walked up to the concourse, and she, in like typical younger girl/woman style, was wearing a hoodie, but the hoodie was over her shoulder. Like, she wasn't wearing it. It was like hanging off of her.
You've come in like that a couple times. I don't want to hear it.
They're like, this is like an alternate reality that this is happening. Like, if you would have told me in 2016 that Bill Belichick would be dating a girl 49 years younger than him, and he's putting up with like all of the...
And coaching at UNC.
Yeah, like, he's not making TikToks, but he was on the beach laying down, like holding her up with his like geriatric legs. Like, spider veins, probably.
Like I said,
when he gets taken into the Hall of Fame, she'll give his like
oh my god,
introduction speech.
I think someone in the conversation at dinner today said something along the lines of, this could have been me, it could have been my parents. Well, it's not exactly like he's a saint. We all know he's a curmudgeonly old man. He's been a curmudgeonly old man since he was born. If she's not the nicest, fluffiest human being, and he's not the nicest, fluffiest human being, hey,
maybe they're made for each other.
Yeah,
it's just,
like, who am I to judge, I guess? Neither one of them is in my life, so it's not like it's a friend where I have to be like, hey, dude, I don't think that woman has your best interests in heart here. Like,
it looks like we're going to have to call off the double date with Bill Belichick and his girlfriend this week.
Sorry,
Beth.
I think Derek and I just steamrolled the conversation you wanted to have. I don't like getting into the judgmental side of it though too, because like, we don't know. That's the thing. Like, but it's possible, but it's
I would have to
live. Just say it from this distance. Like, why would it be fair for me to say that from this distance?
I got my age wrong when I was thinking that just now. I was thinking I was 25, 26.
No.
23 years. I'd have to wait 23
Isn't
years.
26 the cutoff? You're no longer eligible for the draft. They can't draft you and send you to Southeast Asia.
Abby's walking into this just like, what the heck?
Hey, Abby.
Licks the
Hi, how are you?
meeting.
Good. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Well, since we nuked your conversation, you want to ask her your question?
Oh my God.
See what her opinion is.
Are you familiar on?
I'm excited.
Are you familiar on Bill Belichick's relationship?
A little bit.
A little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
Hey, I don't know. Everybody makes fun of me because I love the Bill Belichick sweatshirt, the short sleeve. I rock it, and all my players make fun of me. And I'm like, I don't care. We haven't lost yet with me wearing this sweatshirt, so I'm gonna keep rocking it.
It's getting warm out though. It's gonna be like 80 degrees when you guys are playing. That would be rough.
I know.
You're sweating more than your players are on the sidelines. That would be.
I'm going to applaud Abby, though, for like just the expert. Like, she pivoted while still keeping the topic about Bill Belichick, but not at all about the question. That was like fantastic political answer there.
Well, I just appreciate you guys asking me to be on. I'm happy to be here.
No problem.
Absolutely.
This week's guest on the Eye on Sports podcast is Mars girls lacrosse coach Abby Latona. She is in her 4th season of leading the Planets, who are hoping to win a 3rd straight WPIAL Class 2A title this spring. The Planets are 16-1 and earned the top seed in the WPIAL Girls Class 2A tournament. They will be in action in a quarterfinal at home Wednesday against either Oakland Catholic or Franklin Regional. Thank you, Abby, for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So a team doesn't get to 16-1 and a number 1 seed in the playoffs without leaders, obviously. So who would they be for this year's team? Who have you pinpointed as girls that have kind of paved the way for the rest of the team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think last year we had 9 seniors graduating and a lot of the really great leaders, and we knew that this was going to be a period of transition for leadership in general on our team. And the girls that I'm going to mention have stepped up in huge roles. We have 3 captains this year. Senior Ella Roach, who is committed to Duquesne to play. And then we have 2 juniors who are captains, Tess and Anna McGrath. They're also twin sisters. So those are our 3 captains this year. And in general, seniors and juniors, we have 5 upperclassmen on our team that all lead in different ways.
Yeah, so I texted you, I think it was Friday night, and asked you for stats. And Ella was the first one you mentioned there recently. Went over 400 career saves. So I'm guessing she's been a starter for a while. But how long has she been a starter for you in goal, and how much confidence does it give the team to have so much experience there?
Absolutely. So Ella has been playing goalie for us since her freshman year on the varsity team. She is the backbone of this team and just really the heart. And I think having a really strong leader on this team, but also as a goalie, is hard to find because obviously it's a really difficult position. There's one on the field and she takes responsibility for a lot. She has stepped into this role more naturally than I've ever seen anybody. And her passion for being a goalie has just amazed all of us. So when you have somebody who loves the game, trains very, very hard in that position, leading this team forward, I mean, only positive things can come, and that's exactly what she's proven.
Abby, the Mars is now hoping to play in a 5th straight WPIAL championship game. And by virtue of that success at the district level, the program has become annual participants in the state playoffs. Now, the talent level is not going to be exactly the same every single year, but what common traits can you expect out of your teams that have helped the program become so consistent?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we have a huge emphasis on the culture that we build. And there was a lot of talk at the beginning of this year about us, a rebuilding year. And our team took it head on. Listen, we're not rebuilding here. This might be a period of transition, but we have the same culture, the same standards that we've always had the last few years. And this team has embodied stepping up into those roles and paving a name for themselves. And I think that going back to the culture, we put a huge emphasis on having really good skills, having a really gritty performance, and just dedicating a lot of time in development. These girls don't pick up sticks in March. They've been training since September in the off season. And that really does make a huge difference. And just our overall emphasis on leadership and positivity and loving the game and empowering the girl beside you is what makes Mars so special. And I think obviously the goal is always a championship, but we want to raise and build as many female leaders as we possibly can in that process. So I think that being kind of the steward of our team and our culture has helped its success.
Abby, you want to take a step back for a moment? Can you tell viewers, listeners, your background with lacrosse? When did you start? Where did you play?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not from Pittsburgh. I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Hey, see, east side of the state, the better side of the state.
No, she lives here now, so she probably agrees that this side is better now.
No,
So,
no.
yeah.
We were having an argument in the office earlier.
Break it up.
today.
Break
Sorry,
it up.
Abby.
Let her answer the question.
Love Pittsburgh. Roots are always be in Lancaster. Born and raised there, obviously. I played for Lancaster-Strasburg High School, started in middle school, was a soccer player growing up, and then picked up a stick and never looked back, and had a really good positive experience high school and never wanted to give it up. So when I was going through the recruiting process, I looked for schools that could offer me to play lacrosse, but also study my major, which is occupational therapy. So I'm an OT during the day and a coach at night. But Shenandoah University in Winchester, Virginia is where I played in college. Had an incredible college experience playing there all 4 years under Lindsay Lutz, who has been a head coach there for many years. And I attribute a lot of my passion as a coach and my IQ to her. And so that's kind of my background. I've coached for over 10 years. I coached for Extreme Club Lacrosse team based out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is led by Mark Pinkerton, and then coached a little bit in Virginia, and then have been in Mars since.
So, Abby, it's been less than 20 years since the WPIAL sanctioned girls lacrosse. Mars has had a varsity team for less than 15, but I know that out in the eastern part of the state, it's a different story. What was the level of interest in the sport in the area where you grew up?
Right. I think it was Lancaster has some really awesome lacrosse teams, and playing for a really competitive club team growing up has helped me love the sport and know the sport very well. And I think that even if you look at all those teams across Pennsylvania, they're doing lacrosse a little bit differently. And our goal in the next few years to really bridge the gap between the west and the east side. And obviously we're competing with those Philly schools, the Lancaster LL. I mean, there's some really competitive districts on the other side of the state, and we've made strides on this side. And the hope is to continue to make strides. But, coming from that background and growing up in Lancaster and playing in some really good teams and against really good teams, I know what the standard is. So trying to kind of match the bar a little bit and just use the strengths of Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh lacrosse to be able to be competitive at the state level and for the PIAA.
I'm going to pivot for a second here. You coming from the Lancaster Lebanon League and District 3 area, which I covered District 3 Mid-Penn Conference for a while. So I'm familiar with the lacrosse scene to some degree within that. It's super competitive. District 3 is super competitive. Right. Any good stories from either LL or districts or playing maybe some non-conference stuff? I'm sure you guys played some Philly area or suburban teams as well too.
Yeah, I don't know if I can come up with a story, but I do want to talk about some teams that are from the LL League that have made history and strides, and one that comes to mind is Manheim Township. Yeah. I mean, if you look at Manheim Township, and I had the opportunity to play under Mark Pinkerton, who was the head coach there for many years, they have really represented the LL League well for many, many years. And I think schools have now, tried to match up to that, and you have some really competitive teams from the LL League that are trying to fill those shoes, trying to make a name for themselves in the PIAA. I mean, Hempfield, Hershey, Trinity came to us last year from out east, and who I love their head coach too. So and then you have the powerhouse Philly schools, where they're the gold standard for lacrosse, compared outside of Maryland too. So I don't have a specific story for you, but it's been really cool to be kind of part of that transition of lacrosse was small and now it's huge, and look at all the things that these powerhouse schools have done, and now we're trying to emulate them in our program.
You talked a little bit ago about you played soccer first and then picked up lacrosse later. So what was it that hooked you? You said you never looked back, but what was it about the sport that hooked you, and why have you kept with it for so long?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. I love the speed of the game. I love the speed of the game, the skill, the IQ. I played, multiple sports growing up, but that was the one that really stuck out to me. Was like, wow, this is a huge team sport. It takes a lot of skill all over this field to be good at this, but it's also a really big, you have to be individually really sound in your skill development. And for me, it was just fun. It was really fun. And I had some incredible coaches that loved the game too, and instilled that love for the game in me. And then when I got to Shenandoah, I had an amazing experience. So lacrosse was always kind of my safe place. Being on the field and getting to have some of my best friends in the world play beside me for many years was what made me fall in love with the sport even more. And obviously I love lacrosse, and I think everybody that I coach could tell that about me. I watch it all the time. I'm learning it all the time. I love it. But I love what it teaches a lot too. And just that teamwork, that leadership, that if you really practice on your craft and practice your skill, you're only going to go up. And the thing about lacrosse too, and I could talk about this for a long time, but it's hard. It's a hard sport, and it's hard to be good at lacrosse, and especially to have a really good stick. But really, that is the ticket to success. And when you have a team that has a ton of really good individual players, with really good sticks, really good IQ, who are at the base extremely athletic, it takes a lot of work to kind of combine all of that into a successful team. And that's one of my favorite parts of the game, is creative planning in that sense, and just trying to get all of these different successful pieces to one cohesive unit. And it takes some shifting. It takes some, all right, well, you might be really good here, but we're going to shift things a little bit to have one really common good unit. And that is one of my favorite things about the game, about coaching. And, I say one of the biggest things that we can do as individuals is to give back to our community. And to me, I am able to give back through the game of lacrosse. And, wins are great, losses, they come about, but being able to create the biggest impact that I can with the girls that I'm coaching is really what I want to do the most. That's what's most important to me. And through the foundation of lacrosse at my high school, when I played in college, that was the base of it. Like, I've learned so many life lessons and life skills through this game, and I just want to give back and instill that in all my players that I coach.
Yeah, and your husband, Steven, is an assistant coach for Mars boys team, so he's also very familiar with success. Do you find yourselves talking about lacrosse when you're with each other in your free time? Is that something that goes on?
Oh, every day. You walk into my house and there's 3 lacrosse games going on. I mean, D1, D2, D3. We have like 5 screens. I'm like, this. I mean, we met at Shenandoah. He played college lacrosse too, and we love the game. And again, he has that same mindset of me, as this is our way to give back to the community. He loves to coach, loves to help the Mars boys community. And yes, there's always lots of lacrosse talk, lots of scheming, lots of skill, but we do have times where we're like, all right, no lacrosse talk. Let's just talk about regular life things, please.
Yeah, so you guys land in Mars. Obviously, the lacrosse programs are kind of highly touted. Did you guys know that, or did you guys kind of luck into coming here and knowing that the lacrosse, or finding out that the lacrosse was good?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know really. So after we graduated from Shenandoah in Virginia, we moved down to Florida. It was always kind of a goal and a dream to live down there, and it was never like a long-term plan, but we had a really fun experience living down there, and we knew we wanted to come back. And I had lived in Pittsburgh doing one of my clinical rotations as an OT, and just like a really awesome place to live. Loved the people, loved the vibe, and we settled here, and then kind of looked at coaching opportunities in the area. And the Mars community, I can't speak so positive about them. They have embraced us with open arms, and just have been so kind to us, so welcoming, and have taken us on as coaches, but also as people too, which has made it really special as well.
Yeah, so she liked Pittsburgh so much that she came back.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, but is it Eagles still Eagles here, or have you like betrayed the eastern half of the state and gone to Steelers?
Listen, my dad is a ride-hard Philly Eagles fan,
all right.
So I gotta stick with the Eagles.
Go Birds!
My husband is a diehard Ravens fan. So
man!
Oh no!
Imagine what game days are like.
I would hate Sundays at your house.
How can competitive has your relationship been? You two are both lacrosse players, now coaches. So like either in the beginning or since, like how competitive was it? Were you guys having to like settle arguments with like a stick and cage out back, or like how's that worked out?
No, I mean, I couldn't do it without him. I mean, he has been so supportive and just the best partner and all this. And you'll hear so many coaches, I'm sure, that you've talked to before, that when you have a partner that embraces your role as a coach and a head coach, it just makes it so much easier and more special. So we support each other in everything. Yeah, he has a much harder shot than I do, so I try not. Whenever we would go out in college, just like play around, I'm like, all right, I might lose an eye out here. But no, we have a great, we love the game, love the sport, but we know, it's something so much bigger than this.
Abby, we've had a lot of people on between players and coaches from different sports, but the thing we're looking for, the common denominator, is passion, and I think I speak for everybody here when I say we hit a home run this week with you, because you gave us a lot of great insight, and we appreciate your time. Good luck to your team.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you, Abby.
Thanks.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
See ya. Question again, please.
I can tell by the way you're asking, you don't know. Which NFL player has the most rushing touchdowns of at least 80 yards in his career?
Barry Sanders.
Chris Johnson.
Ooh.
He has 6. Nobody else has more than 3.
CJ2K.
I learned that today. I was watching as I was putting my laundry away, folding it, hanging it up. I had NFL's YouTube had a package of 2 hours of long highlight runs. And they said that, they're like, and he goes for another of 80 yards, and that's his 6th of his career. Is like, I think I'm going to use that.
I wasn't close to getting that one because my second choice would have been OJ, but then I thought OJ played his career during the 14-game schedule, which is, 2 less games for almost an entire decade. So,
all right, good one.
19-17 now.
For one more week, Derek is not at 20 wins.
So, thank you for putting that out, Jake.
Just one more week.
We're gonna pivot here to pro sports. This past week, some pretty big news out of the sports teams in Pittsburgh. Of course, we're talking about the Pirates and the Steelers. The Pirates fire manager Derek Shelton, and the Steelers trade George Pickens. Jake, I'm gonna I'd like to get your opinion because you're kind of an outsider here. You're not a fan of either team. What are your thoughts on either one of these moves?
I focus more on the Shelton move because the Pickens one felt like an inevitability. There had been rumors about this for months. I mean, granted, Shelton was probably kind of on the hot seat going into this year to begin with, but I think the surprising thing about it is the suddenness of it, how early in the season it was, and then the Rockies try to one-up them like 3 days later. I don't think this roster, I think the reason why he's gone is this roster I don't think is as bad as the 12-26 record it was when he was fired. This is not a great team, I don't think, but that pitching rotation is good, especially if Jared Jones can come back healthy. I still worry that he's going to have Tommy John at some point, similar to Andrew Painter's road with the Phillies a couple years ago when they shut him down with a similar-ish injury, and then in June he was announced to have TJ and missed all of 2024. So I think the reason he's gone is not so much because clearly he's not at fault for the roster, but I don't think any of us here would say that Pirates team is a 300 team. Right? Like if you look at everything on paper, you're going, okay, that is maybe a 500 team, maybe a little under that, but it's not this bad. No, I think that's why he's gone.
I agree with that. I mean, I think before the season, I predicted them to have 68-70 wins, which is better than what they're doing now. Yeah. They should have a better record than they are now. And anytime you are the manager, head coach, whatever of a team that's this bad, you're going to be the first one people look at. So
yeah,
my role as a Pirates supporter is adjacent. I would say I don't get upset when they lose because they do a lot of it, and I don't know. Ever since Garrett Cole let Kyle Schwarber hit that one over, and I think it was a right field wall in the wild card, and
so many teams ago,
2016. I think that's when my Pirates fandom kind of just. I still cheer for them. I want them to do well. I like going to the games, but I'm not about to get sad when that's the expected outcome. So, yeah, I don't get excited when they win much because at this point they don't mean much, especially you're 12-26. It's going to be hard for you to make the playoffs. We're a month into the season, and there's 5 months left and kind of playing for nothing, I feel like. So firing the manager is cool and all, but it doesn't change the trajectory of much.
Cool and all. I don't think I've ever heard a coach fire.
As for
Hit the road, Jack.
As for Pickens, I woke up that morning and I was not happy to hear that news. But it's an NFC team. Won't directly affect the Steelers. The Cowboys are the only team since they won the Super Bowl in 1996 to not make a conference finals. So,
really,
yeah. So I should have asked you that as a trivia question. So
I didn't realize they were the only team to do that. I didn't realize.
Well, I listened to that Boys Will Be Boys book, and it kind of shows the
Wait a
the
minute,
roller
Cleveland
coaster.
has made a conference championship game.
I think it's got to be since any team that's been around since '96. I don't think the Texans have made one either, have they?
No,
They lost to the Chiefs a couple years ago in the divisional round.
Yeah, well, whoever wrote that, shame on you for tricking me. I didn't come up with that myself. So, yeah, Pickens, the feeling within that organization was that, yeah, it's going to suck that he's gone in the short term because he's going to succeed in Dallas with CD Lamb opposite him.
Hey, I'm not so sure about that.
I was the guy here saying, hey, the Steelers should extend Pickens too. They should give him a contract because I love watching him play. There's something about being a receiver where I accept the diva behavior because it's just comes with the
Here's the
position.
thing. His diva behavior he was getting in fights with fans in the stands last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he was just going up and getting their popcorn and throwing it all over his face like Daryl.
You imagine this: a fan or a person walks off the street into the office here. You're typing on your laptop, your computer, and they just grab you by the shirt and start messing with you. As you're trying to do your job, do you think you'd get upset at that?
Yes, I would. But first of all, the person would never make it upstairs because Rosie would kick their butt. She'd bite them. They'd be fleeing this place.
Rosie is a dog.
I, as a Steeler fan, I'm going to miss his ability. But what defensive back was it last year
Jordan
that he had
Lewis.
like a personal
he's
grudge
with?
I mean,
now, so.
the guy just lets way too much get to him. Just way too much.
I'm just so looking forward to having a beer on Sunday during football games, watching in the back, like the ticker tape. The Cowboys are going to go like 10-7. They're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to lose in the divisional round. The Cowboys are still going to cowboy. Jerry Jones is still.
They're going to beat the Eagles twice. I'm rooting for them in those games.
They usually win one game in the series.
I think they
every
start
year.
the season off against each other.
They start on Thursday night. I think this is like my favorite quarterback of all time in the NFC East outside of my Eagles team.
Is Dak Prescott?
It's not Dak Prescott. It's Tony Romo. Because I could always count on him to throw for like 4,000 yards during the regular season and lose in the divisional round. And it's the same thing with Prescott.
Fumble, holder, snap.
It's just that I'm gonna love this. This is gonna be great comedy. I got the greatest quarterback room in the world in the Giants, and I've got whatever this offense is now.
Obviously, they traded for the guy, so the Cowboys are looking at his talent. But how is he going to be reacting if, for 3 straight games this September, October, whenever, CD Lamb goes out and has a better game for 3 straight weeks than George Pickens, and he starts crying again? What's going to happen?
He's going to end up. I'm calling this right now. We can come back to this year and a half, 2 years. George Pickens is not going to get a second contract with the Cowboys because they have to pay Micah Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
They're paying CeeDee Lamb and they're paying Dak Prescott. He's going to land with either the Ravens or the Browns, and he's going to play for them within the next 2 years. I will come back to this video, and I will show everyone that I was
freezing cold.
I had the foresight.
You're
You heard it
saying
here,
that
folks. You heard it here.
that the Kenny Pickett George Pickens connection will be renewed in Cleveland.
Oh man!
Kenny
Please lead
Pickett
them
will
to
be
an
out of the
AFC title
league.
game.
Kenny Pickett will be out of the league by then.
Please lead them
It's
to
my
an AFC
second
title
prediction.
game.
I'm going to
That
get them
would be
both
great.
right.
I'm sure there's a team out there that's going to have a third spot on their roster for another quarterback.
The Giants,
somewhere.
they might need a 5th quarterback.
There you go.
The Steelers need a third quarterback right now. So. Don't bring
Next
him back
week.
here.
See ya.
We encourage you to subscribe to the Butler Eagle YouTube channel and Apple or Spotify podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Alter Eagle Podcast and at Butler Eagle News. Goodbye.